Again, this is Nan Hamilton coming to you from the District 2 Toastmasters Annual Spring Conference Series. These are our education presentations, and tonight we have the opportunity to hear another wonderful speaker. We'll be having Nancy Juetten sharing with us. We're going to have a slide in just a moment here. Podcast guesting for good and profit. Nancy, I will be with you with your intro. It's wonderful to have you. Tonight, Nancy Juetten will be telling us about podcast guesting for good and profit. During this training, participants will learn the opportunity speakers have to raise their voices as guest experts on podcasts that have embedded listeners who can't wait to hear them. You'll also learn how podcast guests are monetizing their moments at the microphone. Nancy will also share the value of being media ready, media savvy, and on message. Also, how to quickly meet podcast hosts to ask to be a guest. And then the number one consideration before taking one's place at the microphone, and it's not what you think. So now we have podcast guesting for good and profit, Nancy Juetten. Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you so much for having me. And Nick, what a brilliant presentation. I love that we should get up, set goals, and take action. And I hope as we continue through this educational session, you'll keep those 3 key points front and center, because that's exactly what I want you to do too. The theme of our conference is Imagine, Inspire, and Impact. And so what I want to start with is this idea. You know, I'm a Toastmaster, you're a Toastmaster. It tends to be a pretty safe environment. So imagine you could step out of the safety of Toastmasters and potentially speak to hundreds or thousands of people around the world who couldn't wait to hear what you had to say. Your story, your mission, the flag you're waving, your transformation. What would that feel like? And what would it feel like to inspire people outside of your own protected environment, where your legacy could be alive today, or you could potentially be making a lot of money or making some other big impact that perhaps is beyond what you've been able to give yourself permission to do? And what if, just what if you could touch and transform so many more lives with your message, your story, your mission, the flag that you're waving, that all this was possible without even having to leave your house? This, my friends, is the beauty of podcast guesting for good and profit. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Just trying to move my slides around. Here we go. So before we start, I'd like you to set your intention. This is a big one. You know, we can get into the practical things that we're certainly going to get into. But what I want you to do before we even begin is to set the intention that your work deserves a much wider audience and that your time to accomplish these objectives is now. If there's anything we've learned over the last year or so with COVID-19 is that tomorrow is not a promise, someday is not on the calendar. And if we want to accomplish magnificent things like writing a book, becoming a professional speaker, getting paid to speak, becoming a better business owner, these kinds of things that you've already shared as goals, why would we wait a moment longer? Now is the time. So why does this matter to me? Why does this matter to you? Well, there's 2 stories I want to tell. One is this. My dad was an actor in Hollywood. We lived in Southern California, and he would go out on auditions and he would perform for the casting director. He'd go and believe that he delivered the goods and made amazing impact with the audience and the decision maker. And then he'd come home and we'd wait. And then we'd pray. And then we'd hope. Because either the phone would ring and we'd get to go to the grocery store and fill it up with all the favorite things that we'd like to eat. Or if the answer was no, we'd be going to the grocery store with coupons, trying to figure out how we were going to pull together a meal with very little money in our pocket. And I remember thinking to myself as a very young girl growing up in status conscious Southern California, this is a very disempowering place to be. How is it that someone else gives you permission to make your way in the world and make your impact. I wanted to be in a position to be able to make my impact no matter what. And so that really did influence my desire to become a public speaker and a trainer and a coach. Because if I build my own audience, I can speak to people and create a transformation and create an invitation and create a revenue rush for my products, programs, and services. If I speak on other people's audiences, I can do the same. If I speak up on podcast shows, I can do the same. It's as if I can have a three-legged stool of opportunity and possibility, and I will always have control over my destiny. And I never have to wonder whether or not someone's going to give me permission to do my thing, make my living, make my impact. I find that incredibly empowering. So when the COVID-19 situation showed up about a year ago, all the live stages seemed to shut down for good reason. But here's the cool thing. By becoming a podcast guest who was ready to share her message in a powerful way, I managed to secure for myself scores and scores of opportunities to speak up on big virtual stages, deliver my message, show up with heart and smarts, and attract clients, connections, collaborations, cash, and that beautiful sound of ka-ching in my shopping cart. And at a time when so many people are suffering, that level of empowerment that I was able to feel was such a huge fuel to my confidence and to the mission that I'm fighting for, which is to give everyone in the world the opportunity to have that same freedom. And so this is why I'm so passionate about this subject matter. And I think there's so many opportunities because there's tremendous upside that you can welcome from home without even leaving your house to share your story with a much wider audience, to attract leads, connections, collaborations, clients, and cash. And also the thrill of speaking outside of the safety of an organization that we all know and love to get the real world reaction that is either a win or a lose. But either way, it's great because we're stepping out and we are imagining and inspiring and creating impact beyond the closeness of our Toastmasters clubs. So I want to take a poll, and my chat master, Nan, I'm sure you'll help me out. But what I'd like to know is, number one, if podcast guesting is a brand new idea and you're curious, won't you please type number one in the chat? The second option, number two, is you've dabbled a bit and you're excited to learn more. And the third option is speaking more is my highest priority. And tonight's your gateway to get up, set some goals, and take some action. Choose three. And I will ask my...
It's scrolling in quickly, just like the election results on election night. I'm trying to keep up with it. We got, boy, it looks like we've got a lot of ones here, a couple of twos, 1, 3. Not going to give names. You guys can see in the chat a lot more ones and a few twos, few threes. You know, frankly, it looks like one might be winning with 2 and 3 well represented, I think, in this group tonight, Nancy.
Okay, well, that's great to know. What a great opportunity for me to open a door to opportunity for you that you may never have considered before that could be incredibly empowering. And I am really excited to see if I can get you lights on about your possibilities here. So what is my promise for you for today? Number one, if you want to speak more, you can speak more. Give me an amen to that if you're excited. You have 3 ways that you can speak up. 3 ways. Actually, there's 4. The first way is to your own community. This could be to your Toastmasters club. It could be to people that are in your Facebook group that you lead. It could be people that subscribe to your newsletter that you get to share videos with. You have people that are following your work or people that you would aspire to have following your work. The second group is other people's audiences. So this is a great opportunity for me. I'm speaking at the District 2 International Conference educational session, and I understand that over 300 people registered. That's a wonderful opportunity for me to share a message with 300 people that could potentially benefit. And then, of course, there's the podcasts that are right for your message. If you consider each of these options a leg on a 3-legged stool, you as an empowered person who wants to be able to create revenue on command have a very stable platform on which to stand to work that objective. So what I'd like you to do is to get ready for those big opportunities now so that you can be the podcast guest that top hosts can't wait to book. That means that you need to stop winging it. You need to get ready to play big, and you need to believe and behave as if your result was already real. This image you see of the foot with the tag, if you are not ready to go when the big names call you, you are dead on arrival. But if you are ready and you are anticipating that Oprah is going to be calling you tomorrow, the way that you show up in service, the way you do everything is how you do anything. Just having that expectation could be a game changer no matter what it is that you're trying to do. So I want you to take that in and imagine what that would feel like as you're getting up early to exercise and take care of your body. Maybe that thing that you want is to become a professional speaker who's speaking up to thousands of people without leaving your house and bringing those people into your world so that they can't wait to talk to you about engaging in your products, programs, or services, or your keynote speaking services. This is all within your reach. And when you do, you will take control of your destiny, and it will pay off for you, and it will show up in your confidence in a way that will be so exciting that people are going to be wondering, like, is there some new shampoo you're using, or what's that thing that you're doing that's making such a big difference in the way that you're showing up? But I know from my experience with Toastmasters, it kind of feels like we're testing and we're trying to make things happen. But when you're out there speaking on a big name podcast, you're making it happen. And there's a whole bunch of people listening. And if they love you, you know it right away. And if they don't love you, that's great too, because you're taking that initiative and you're showing up and you're giving it a go. And boy, oh boy, it's great out there when you're not in your comfort zone and going to the extra mile, because it's never crowded out there. And I want you to go out there too if you're so inspired to do that. So let's just play for a moment. Part of what I want to talk about is how you can make money and smile all the way to the bank as a podcast guest. Give me a yes in the chat if that's something you're interested in. Do you want to make money by speaking up? Give me a yes in the chat. And Nan, if you get a read on that, be sure to let me know. But what I want you to consider is, what are your favorite ways to serve people? Do you sell books? Do you deliver group training programs? Do you speak? Do you deliver professional services? There's so many ways that you can be of contribution to your market. What are those ways that you serve? And if you want to go ahead and post those ways in the chat, I'd love to read about it and know about it. Because while I love words and speaking, math is not my favorite thing, but the math is what we're going to talk about, because the math is kind of fun in this particular case. And I want to spell it out for you in very clear terms. Let's just imagine for a moment that you were so excited about podcast guesting that you were inspired to pitch yourself to 20 amazing shows, and they all said yes. And you got in dialogue with those hosts and had such a wonderful conversation that was so illuminating, and you showed up as such a brilliant presenter and someone who had great content to share in dialogue, that when the host said, "Wow, what a fantastic program. What would you like our listeners to do as a direct result of hearing from you today?" And you said, "I'd love for you to download my special report, or give me a call at 1-800-CALL-NICK," or something like that. Well, what if those 20 inquiries turned into a $1,000 project for you? That could be a $20,000 stream of revenue simply by showing up on a podcast, looking at a camera, speaking into a microphone, and being brilliant. Would that be a welcome outcome? Go ahead and post in the chat and let me know about that. So let's dial it in a little bit more. Let's say that you did 20 podcast guest spots in a year, and 10 of those people who were listening decided to join your highly engaged Facebook group. Well, that could be 200 new members of your Facebook group And then what if you delivered a deep dive training in your Facebook group to teach people more about whatever it is that your favorite expertise is all about? Well, they say that 3% of people on the planet are ready, able, and willing to invest wisely into products, programs, and services that solve problems that they want to solve. So that could be 6 more people that could be investing into your product, program, or service. So that's an additional $6,000. And if you sell products, programs, services, or keynote speaking at $2,500 or $5,000 a pop, well, you can do the math. But I got to say, when you start thinking about doing this math, are you imagining a new possibility? Could you be inspired to welcome this opportunity? And would this kind of impact in your bottom line be a welcome thing? So I just want to check into the chat here and see, Nan, like, what are people saying? Anything that I need to know before I keep going?
Well, I think we'd love to tell you that overwhelmingly the answer was yes. They would love to know more about how to make some of these opportunities happen in their life. And the other question, if I remember correctly, was around which aspect of this they might like. Can you remind me about that?
Yes. Do you sell products? Do you sell books? Do you sell professional services?
Yes. And we're not getting as much detail at the moment. If your fingers are, oh, here we go. We're starting to see a few things. We've got some people who sell books. They provide opportunity and impact and inspiration right through these services and products. That's really what it is, taking our speaking and listening skills and then turning them into an opportunity for other people to also grow and change. Looks like we've got some books, and that catches us up right now, Nancy.
Okay, well, very good. So is it fair to say that folks are kind of excited about?
I think we had a lot of exclamation points after the yes, Nancy, so we can keep right on rolling.
Okay, good. Well, here's the cool thing about podcasts is it is a very accessible medium for a shelter in place world. Today, there are about 1.8 million podcasts on the air, and more are starting every single day. And there are hosts of these shows that are looking for experts and storytellers just like you. And they are active shows that have embedded audiences that are subscribing to their programs that could be new fans and followers of your work. The shows live online forever. So if you are doing a Google search for yourself, you'll likely find the 40 shows that you did last year that are instant credibility boosters, because when we're going to buy a product, service, or a program, we don't typically just say, hey, here's my money, let's go. Most of us are diligent consumers that want to find out, well, who is this person and how long have they been doing it? And do I like their tone of voice? And do I like the way they serve? And do I even need what they're selling? If you do a Google search for Nick Salmon, you're going to find out that he won this contest, and you're going to find out all these other interesting things. Everything that you pull together from a Google search helps inform whether or not you want to go have coffee with him or do business with him or hire him to do whatever it is that he does as a public speaker or as an engineer or whatever else that he does at this fine company that he works for in the Snohomish County area. So this Google searchability is terrific. And here's the other thing that's super cool. During a shelter-in-place environment, a lot of us have been binge watching Netflix and things like that. But people who want to continue to improve themselves and set goals and get up and take action, they're listening to podcasts because they want to learn more and earn more. And as they're multitasking while they're lifting their weights or walking their dog, they're listening to Entrepreneur on Fire to see how they can make their business burn up with great results. What if they're listening to you too? These people tend to have more discretionary income to invest in themselves, which means that whatever it is that you're selling at whatever tuition is something that they can likely afford. And the beautiful thing about podcast guesting is it doesn't really have a cost to you. You can simply make a pitch, show up for the show, be your brilliant self, extend your proper call to action, and ideally smile all the way to the bank. And I think that's particularly welcome in a time in our economy where some people are looking for clever ways to get the word out without breaking the bank. So what I want to have happen while we're here tonight is I'd love to help you get podcast ready or get you to think beyond your current scenario and think, how many more people could I touch and transform with my message if I just knew how to do it? So a couple of practical things. What will the listeners hear and what will the viewers see? You'll want to have lighting that puts you in your most attractive light. And you'll want to have a professional quality microphone so that the audio quality will be pleasing to anyone who's listening. And then the other thing you want to pay attention to is what people see behind you if it's going to be a video scenario, because you want your brand to be reflected in a favorable reference. We don't want to see your dirty dishes or anything like that. So when you're applying for shows, sometimes they'll say, we'd really love to have you on the program, and we need to make sure that you have the proper audio, video, and background before we go. You don't want to be the guest that says, oops, I need to go get all that stuff squared away. I'll let you know in a few weeks when I've got it going on. No, I want you to behave and believe as if the most important person's calling you tomorrow. And I want you to have your setup ready to go so that you can just say yes and get on with it, because that's what winners do. In terms of what kind of microphone can you buy, you can go online and search for good options, but I actually had a chat with a podcast host who's hosted over 400 guests, and he's recommending the Audio-Technica ATR 2100 as the best as far as proper quality, versatility, and reasonable pricing. I get no benefit from recommending this. I'm just letting you know that if it's like a black hole to you and you don't know what to buy, here's a suggestion. Now, I have a 6P system to help you make the most of podcast guesting. The first is to prepare. The second is to position yourself. The third is to prioritize the right shows that are right for you and your message. Then it's to pitch, because you got to make the pitch in order to win the game. And then what you want to do is ping pong people back into your world so that you can do more business with them, because that is when you get to hear that beautiful music of ka-ching. And that's really like doing the hokey pokey. It's what it's all about, especially if we're in business. So when we come to preparing for a show, it's been my philosophy and my practice for over a decade to be ready for opportunity before it knocks, because you become the favorite guest that they keep talking about as the one who was a dream to work with, who was a pleasure to chat with, who did everything that she or he said he was going to do and went one step more to exceed expectations. When you are that kind of a guest, when you are that kind of a client, when you are that kind of a professional speaker, you become the decision maker's favorite. And you know what happens? They remember that and refer you to other people as the kind of guest they can't wait to book as well. You're going to want to prepare your message, your bio. Who are you anyway? What value do you have to bring to that show? And if it's hard for you to do that, I have here on the screen a 5-step system that makes it a lot easier and faster, and even a little bit more fun to curate what you want to say. Typically, you're going to want to position yourself as someone who has decades of experience, has accomplished stunning, remarkable results, who's been seen, heard, and celebrated in major and minor media, and who has something memorable to say about him or herself that makes them likable, wonderful, and worth talking to. And that's really, I mean, I've been helping people with their bios since I wrote my first book, Bye Bye Boring Bio, in 2009. I've heard every excuse known to man, but I just want you to get to the meat of the matter and get on with it. So I want to demonstrate what my bio shows so that you could mirror it as you create your own. You want to create a handle in front of your name that speaks to what you are, who you are, what outcome you bring for people. Get Known, Get Paid mentor Nancy Juetten transforms speakers, experts, and authors into sought-after podcast guests who speak their way to 6 figures and beyond without having to invest in an expensive booking agency. You know who I am. You know who I work with. You know what the big win is for my clients. And you know something that sets what I do apart from another option that may not even be on the table. The second paragraph, I position myself and qualify myself as someone who can deliver the goods in this way. I combine my years of public relations agency success, proven online marketing strategies honed since 2009, and my velvet boot of accountability to kick clients into an empowering and sustainable gear of performance and results. In addition to being an Amazon #1 bestselling author and a consistent content creator, I speak up on 40 or more podcasts and virtual stages every year with my sassy sound bites leading the way. I have positioned myself as someone, hopefully, that you can like, trust, and respect and believe to bring about the outcome that I'm promising. And then if there's room, I have an opportunity to share the ways that I work with people and an email address for people to reach out to me. And if you follow this recipe, you will have a bio that will be easy to read and to introduce you to any show and have it work out like clockwork. So I hope that you're inspired by that. You might take a screenshot of this just so you have something to model your own against. But I promise you that if you have a bio like this, it's going to open a lot of doors for you. It's going to help set you apart. And of course, if you do have a visual of your Amazon best-selling book or a picture of you taking the stage looking like you know what you're doing, visuals speak loudly. And so use them when it makes sense, because there are some people that love to read and there's some people that like to see imagery, and there's even some people that prefer video. But to the extent that you can share who you are in a multimedia way, all the better. All right. So if you are curious about this Bye Bye Boring Bio workbook preview that kind of put me on the map last year in a really big way, you can actually download it as my gift to you by going to byebyeboringbio.com and just check your junk promo or spam folders, and it'll deliver to your inbox instantly. And I hope that you do. It's a free gift, and it will actually help you make your bio and your media one sheet brilliant, especially if you want to be on podcasts. So what you see here now is a media one sheet that we've created for my husband. It's a simple one-page document that says his name, his credential, very short bio about who he is, what he likes to talk about, where his perspectives have been shared so far, and how you can reach him. Financial planning tends to be a dry and boring subject. And what's cool and different about my husband, who I've been married to for 33 years, is that he loves to talk about financial lessons inspired by movies, television, and song lyrics, like the financial lessons learned from the halls of Downton Abbey, or what we can learn about estate planning from Aretha Franklin's failure to create a will. He has a very fun way of talking about what some might consider a rather dry topic. Is it any wonder that he's getting booked left and right on podcasts to talk about that very thing? So for you, what would you like to talk about that would be timely, newsworthy, relevant, interesting, compelling, and worth talking about right now? And if you're able to pull that together in a simple one sheet, as you see right here, you will be media ready in no time, and you'll be able to present yourself to a podcast host or a decision maker and get to yes rather quickly. So here again, another beautiful gift, no obligation to you, but you can actually download that template if you go to getknowngetpaid.com/MOS for media one sheet. And it's a PowerPoint slide that you can use to upload your photo and your short bio and your media topics and the praise that has been shared about you as a speaker or a trainer or a author, and your contact information. So instead of having to fuss about, well, where am I going to find a template? And I don't know how to fill it out, and I don't have any examples to guide me. We're just a couple minutes into this presentation, and already you have tools to help you do that. How awesome is that? Let me hear some awesome in the chat. I see some heads. Yeah, that's good. That's what I like to see. That's what I like to see. You got to get ready for opportunity before it knocks, and you can be a rock star at hello. So here's another practical, tactical thing you're going to want to take a picture of. If you're believing and behaving as if you're going to be booked on 40 or more podcasts, you have to get systematic. And hosts are going to ask you, I need your headshot. I need your short bio. I need you to share with me interview questions that will guide our conversation. I'm going to need you to share with me your social media profiles. I'm going to need you to share with me any imagery of any books you've written, this sort of thing. Well, I have a page on my website that makes all of that available. So if I'm on a lounge chair in sunny San Diego trying to take a vacation and National Public Radio calls and says, we want you on the program, I don't have to pull my hair out and wonder how I'm going to get that person whatever they need in a moment's notice. I simply say, I'm honored to be asked to the show. In 5 seconds, you'll have everything you need. What more can I do to make this a brilliant experience for you and your national audience? And typically when I ask that question, they say back to me, won't you please teach the world to do what you just did? Because a lot of people are randomly going out in the world hoping and praying that someone's going to call them. And then when the phone rings, they're pulling their hair out and they're chasing their tail. If you're believing and behaving as if the most important person is calling you tomorrow, you're ready right now. So if you use this as an example and duplicate and mirror it for your own expertise, you will be off to the races and you will be their favorite at hello. And when you are their favorite at hello, you take that stage, you share your value, you pour on the how-to and the wow, and you will be rewarded in ways beyond which you had no idea how great it could be. And I hope you're excited about that because boy, oh boy, I'm excited about it. It's certainly been exciting for me to see clients soar to new heights because they follow the advice that I so generously share. So now you're thinking, okay, I'm excited about being on a podcast, but where am I going to find these shows? How am I going to get connected? Well, would it surprise you to know that there are podcast guesting groups and matchmaking sites on Facebook to make it super easy for you to make those connections? If you want to be a guest, you have a hashtag to use called Be a Guest. And if you want to find a guest because you're a host, you can use the hashtag find a guest. And guess what? There are all kinds of opportunities for you to go and start today. These are just 6 places to start where you could find these groups on Facebook and start learning, and connecting with people who just might want to hear from you right now. I call this picking the low-hanging podcast publicity fruit because when you're just new at this, you sure as heck don't want to go to the biggest show on the planet and potentially duff it, but you can go to some smaller shows that are niched to your audience and give it a good go, have some really good success, make some friends, and all of a sudden one good show leads to another good show, and all of a sudden you're everywhere all at once, and you're that it person that's getting booked left and right. Just curious, anybody want some of that? I would love to see that in the chat. I see some fingers going up. I like that because this is what's been happening to me. You know, I started going to these little shows, delivering my content, and you know what? Other people are listening to these shows and they have shows of their own and they're going, oh my gosh, I really like that guest. I'm going to call her. And so one good show leads to another show. So in the beginning, you're feeling like, oh, I'm feeling nervous. I got to start making pitches. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do it. On these podcasting sites, they'll say, hey, I'm looking for someone who can talk about how to set up your virtual office so you can look like a rock star on Zoom. And what do you know? Rebecca Murray might be standing by, ready to jump right in and say, I'm your gal. That's exactly what I do. Here's a link to everything you need to know about me. And when can we book it? It doesn't have to be that much more complicated than that. And doesn't that just give you a huge sigh of relief? This is easy. You can do this. You just have to get back in touch with this whole idea that my work deserves a bigger audience and I want to start right now and someday's not a day on the calendar. Join these groups. It's free to join and you're off to the races. Just curious, how many people are going to do that? Would love to see that in the chat. All right, we'll keep going. So when you're on these pages, you notice what the hosts are looking for and how potential guests respond. When you're feeling confident, you put your own hat in the ring in a conversational, relationship building way. You respond quickly to requests and you fill in application forms thoughtfully, and you dot your I's and cross your T's because how you do anything is how you do everything. And what do you know? You'll get booked. There's other things you can do as well. You can pay attention to posts in relevant Facebook groups and start conversations with hosts and leaders of those groups, because they might need someone to talk about what you love to talk about most. You can update your social media profiles to say that you're an awesome podcast guest. That's easy to do. Oh, I didn't realize that. What do you like to talk about? You can post to social media that you are seeking podcast guest spots to talk about your specific expertise and see what comes your way. And if you're someone like me who leads a Facebook group, go live in your Facebook group once a week and deliver amazing content or expert interviews or other ways to add value in service to the people that you lead. Other people are going to see what a great how well you interview your guest, how well you show up, the content that you drop, how valuable it is. And all of a sudden, you're going to be visible, you're going to have greater authority, you're going to have a little bit of a star quality, and all of a sudden, you're the one that's getting invitations to do really cool things that you didn't even know were possible. And the best part about it is you didn't even have to leave your house. You didn't have to get on an airplane. You didn't have to spend any money driving anywhere. You just got to speak up and show up. And isn't that what speakers love to do? So now, if you're getting very excited, if you've proven to yourself that getting on the low-hanging podcast publicity fruit is easy, squeezy, lemon easy, and you're ready to go big time, I want you to start thinking big time too. And that means choosing 8 really great shows that serve your niche audience. And this is where some people get a little tripped up, but you can go to iTunes and in the search box, look for leadership or management or motherhood or midlife. Or you can go to Chartable, which is a free site, and you can use their search box to find, like, I'll use my husband as an example. He's a certified financial planner. He talks about retirement issues. If I go to Chartable and I type in retirement, Chartable for free will deliver a list of shows all about retirement. And then I can quickly prioritize them. I can sample them, decide if these are shows I would be proud to contribute to, and then I can make a pitch. And one of my favorite tips is the ninja tip, really, is that we all have competitors, people that do something similar to what we do. Follow the shows that your most treasured competitors are on, and then make an approach to the host about a follow-up episode that you could be a guest on that would share a completely different and alternative and game-changing point of view. The whole point about podcasting is to have a dialogue and to create interesting conversations. I do this thing all the time, and it's like amazing how often I get booked. So I hope you're very excited about that. So in terms of prioritizing, I'll never forget Amy Clancy was an anchor on the Channel 7 News. And she said, this is what I hate. Someone will approach her and say, I never watch the news, but the news should cover what I'm doing. It is such a disrespectful way to make an approach to someone who's dying on the deadline, trying to deliver the truth to the viewing public. If you're truly serious about being seen, heard, and celebrated on a podcast, do the host the service and the honor of listening first to the show. Find out how you can apply to be a guest, see whether or not they've covered what you want to talk about, and then reach out to the host and say, I've listened to the show. I particularly liked episode number 166, where you talked about publicity and all the ways that I could make that happen. And the reason I'm reaching out is I think I've got an excellent follow-up topic that could expand that conversation. And why don't we see if this is a fit? But when you let people know that you've listened to the show and that you think you've got more value to add, they'll be a lot more likely to want to listen to you than if you said, I've never listened to your show, but you should have me on it. Doesn't that make sense? So another way you can get in touch with different podcast hosts is to either make yourself, give yourself access to one of these ultimate directories of podcasters. And just last month, Steve Olsher released the 2021 Ultimate Directory of Podcasters, and he actually gave it away for free. So if you Google 2021 Ultimate Directory of Podcasters, you'll probably find it online. And this can make it so much easier to find the right shows in your niche market so that you can narrow your search, because overwhelm tends to be something that people get tripped up around. And all I'm asking you to do is find 8 really great shows that you can reach out to and reach up to so that you could have the opportunity to speak to so many more people about whatever it is that's most important to you. The next step in the process is to pitch. And that means you find a way to honor the host or the decision maker with an email that says, hey, when I tuned into your show, I stopped everything and took notes and even posted a 5-star review on iTunes. Thanks for the kick in the pants. I'd love to be considered as a guest. And here's what I have to say about this particular matter. It's timely now, especially because, and I've contributed to some big and little name shows, and hosts rave about the value I bring. I'll follow up with you in a couple of days unless I hear from you first. I can't wait to continue the conversation. I have used this pitch time and time again to come to the top of the stack, and people say, thanks for watching the show. Thanks for the 5-star review. I love what you're suggesting. Let's do it. What if you did that and had the same outcome? What then could happen for you and your star on the rise? So then the next step in all of this is to ping pong. And that means that when the host says, what should our listeners do to get in touch with you as a result of hearing all this brilliance that you shared tonight? That's when you want to share a singular call to action. The next time you listen to a podcast, you'll notice that some people will say, well, you can send me a smoke signal, you can send me an email, you can give me a call, you can do all kinds of things. If you give them too many things to do, guess what they do? Nothing. So what I want you to do is give them one thing to do. And what could it be? It could be download my free gift. It could be schedule a discovery call. It could be join my Facebook group, visit my website. But whatever the link is, it should be easy to speak and spell, because most people who are podcast listening may not have a piece of paper on hand, and they're not going to remember your really complicated URL. So bye-bye-boringbio.com, BYE, boringbio.com. That's going to make it super easy for people to remember and spell and do. And you know what? They're going to get up, they're going to set that goal, they're going to take that action. And what do you know? They're going to get your goodie in the inbox, and it's going to be life-changing for them. And it's going to be inspiring for them to want to know even more from you. So going back to your favorite way to serve, what if the right number of clients said yes to your favorite way of serving, and you got to profit, and you get to love your life and your work, and you get to do it from the comfort of your own home with your dog at your feet? And wouldn't that just be a happily ever after moment? I consider it a triumphant opportunity, and I hope that you do too. So as you proceed along this journey and you decide that this is going to be something you want to get up about and set goals and take action around, I want you to do what Jack Canfield says, which is to practice the rule of 5. And that is to take 5 inspired actions every day to advance towards your biggest goal, and to be consistent and persistent, and to aim high, and to follow up, and to invite introductions. Because going back to what I said in the beginning, if you believe and behave as if the most important opportunity is going to avail itself to you tomorrow, it just might. And when you're media ready and you're on message and you're ready to rock, there's nothing to stop you from stepping up and making your big impact, which could very well turn into income and influence. And isn't that awesome? I want you to be an extraordinary guest and co-collaborator in ways that astound, delight, and surprise. And when it comes to having a topic, I don't want you to go generic. I want you to go specific. And the reason I'm looking down is I'm just checking the time, and I want to speed up a little bit because I know time is really important here. Don't say, I speak about a variety of things in a variety of ways. What shall we discuss? I want you to have something already prepared and that has a result in the name. For years and years, I talked about how to transform your boring bio from wallpaper to wow to attract clients now. It was fun to say, it was fun to speak about, and you knew exactly what the win was going to be for the audience. What are you going to talk about? And when they say, what are the takeaway points? Don't just deliver the boring takeaways. Put some intrigue and curiosity in these things. Today when I was introducing this, I was saying, what are you going to learn today? You're going to learn the value of being media ready, media savvy, and on message with your media one sheet leading the way. And how to quickly meet podcast hosts to be a guest, even if you're brand new to podcast guesting. And the number one consideration that you must make before you take your place at the microphone. And oh, it's not what you think. You know what it is? When the microphone goes silent and you have rocked that show, the host is going to say, wow, what a fantastic conversation. And you're going to say, thank you so much. And then you're going to say, just curious, what do you have coming up? And how can I support you in bringing you great introductions to amazing guests? Or might there be other ways we could work together in service to a bigger goal? And you're going to have conversations with that host that are going to result in new referrals that you're going to welcome, that are going to change your game in a much bigger way. That's a game changer. And that's, I think, the part of podcast guesting that I find the most fun. So I'm just going to scroll through a couple of these things because I want to be honoring of your time. My question to you is, have you decided that you want to be seen, heard, and celebrated on a podcast, or 2 or 5 or 20? I'm daring you to step up. I would like you to decide that podcast guesting is going to be a brilliant strategy. I want you to ask for the gigs and always aim as high as possible so that you can have the biggest audience to make your difference. I want you to resist the temptation to quit because not everyone's going to say yes, but the right people will. And I want you to execute, because if you do nothing, guess what? Nothing will happen. And that would be a shame, especially if your mission and your message and the flag you're waving has the potential to touch and transform lives around the country and around the world. I want you to want your result enough to get out of your comfort zone and go where the magic happens. Be like all those successful people that Nick was talking about. Get up early, set some goals and take some action, and get uncomfortable. Because you can either stay in the Get Ready Club, or you can miss out on opportunities to share your message around the world and around the nation and around your own backyard. And I don't want that for you. So I want you to drop out of that Get Ready Club and get on with it. And so what are the next steps I would suggest? Take a shot at creating your media one sheet as a direct result of having crossed paths with me tonight. You can download the template by visiting the link you see on your screen. And the next thing I want you to do is to join 1,876 podcast guest speakers, experts, and authors who are raising their voice and making their impact and learning more as they earn more. It's free to join. This is a group that I lead very, very enthusiastically, and I would love for you to be connected with speakers, experts, authors, and aspiring guests who are going downtown, imagining bigger results for themselves, inspiring themselves and others, and making an impact in a much bigger way. I'm more than happy to answer questions if there are questions to be answered, and I thank you so very much for the opportunity to present to you tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. We're going to start with our first round of thank you applause to you. Thank you so much for making that such a packed, valuable time. And there are some notes of thanks, but we did have 2 questions. So I'm going to go ahead and get right to it so we can get some answers. The first one was, what if I've written a book, but it isn't a #1 bestseller? What's the short answer for that one, Nancy?
You've written a book. And awesome sauce to you. Go ahead and lead with the book that you've written. Everybody's looking for some level of bragging rights. So go with what you've got and make the most of it. And if we can all become Amazon bestsellers if we just learn how to do it. I can teach you how to do it. I've done it twice, and it's not hard. if you know what to do. But lead with the book that you have. And if you debuted it once and it didn't happen for you, debut it a year later and do it again. Nobody's going to remember.
Excellent. And then you can do a new pandemic division or edition. That's actually a really cool thing. Just a new cover, add a little bit in there. It's awesome. And one other question, which is it really true you can get paid for being a guest on podcasts? Tell us that very briefly. How does that work?
Well, as I was mentioning earlier, if I'm on 40, like I've been on 40 shows in the last year or so. When I ping pong people back into my world to go get the Bye Bye Boring Bio gift, a portion of those people find themselves satisfied and complete reading the gift and getting the value from it. But a great number of them join me in my Raise Your Voice, Make Your Impact Facebook group, and they benefit from training that I deliver and generously share. Well, I will make offers from time to time within the group and say, won't you please join me for the Broadcast Your Brilliance Bootcamp that's starting in June? Well, if I've got, I'm just going to do easy math. If I have 2,000 members of my group and 3% of them are willing, able, and ready to make a purchase at any given time, 3% of 2,000 is, Mr. Engineer, tell me, like whatever that is. Multiply that number. $600? Multiply that number times the tuition. I've just got paid. So you need to have products, programs, and services to sell. If you're currently selling books at $24, $25, $40, whatever, why not starting to sell your books by the bundle? Don't just sell them one at a time. Sell them one for you, one for your best friend, and one for the best friend on the way. You can triple your upside by selling more books that way. So you should have a way to monetize, which is why if you're a professional service provider, if someone pays $3,500 for a retirement readiness checkup, and the way they get there is they downloaded I don't want to live in a van under a bridge with my cat. When I retire, I want to have enough money to love my life. If they download the report, they read the report and feel informed and inspired and connected to the author. The call to action in the report is, should you wish to discuss how you can retire more abundantly, I'm more than happy to chat with you. Here's how you can chat with me. If people say, I want to chat with you about it, and you enroll them into your $3,500 retirement readiness checkup, you just made money. But you have to keep your eye on the end result.
Yeah, so the podcasting is an opportunity to be in front of way more people who are already excited and engaged and potentially already ready to be looking for someone just like you without having to hunt and peck one or two at a time. So it's exponential visibility and an opportunity to pull people back into what you're there to deliver to the world. So thank you. Those were our two questions. I want to give Nancy a huge Toastmaster round of applause. Huge time, wonderful takeaway. I wouldn't even attempt to alliterate all the wonderful things you did for us tonight, Nancy. You are a word ninja. I'm just going to say that. And it was a delight to listen to you and all the opportunity that we had to take away